Welcome to the Tech Ranch, live and local here on Super Talk 1270. The latest gadgets, online security, websites and apps, social media, and so much more. How can technology help you? Let's find out. It's time for the Tech Ranch on Super Talk 1270.
From our studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River, here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we were just talking about the late Casey Kasem.
Keep your feet on the ground.
Yes.
And keep reaching for cigars.
So we were just talking about, I was just listening to him this morning. I got caught up in the top 100 of 1980.
Yeah, we run them on our sister station
you do.
down the hall.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I was just like amazed that number 15 of the year was Another One Bites the Dust. Number 12 was Funky Town.
1980, right.
1980. And of course, Jim was like, so what's the number one song? And I said, I don't remember. And you came up with
Blondie, Call Me. Call me.
And you're right. That is the number one song in 1980.
Yeah.
That's an amazing memory you have.
Thank you.
So crazy.
I remember that year. That was, I was in radio that year. I was working at a little station in Maryland.
Okay.
Ocean City, Maryland.
Wow.
And the big songs that summer were Call Me was big, Diana Ross, Upside Down.
Yep.
Paul Simon had a song out called Late in the Evening.
Okay.
And what was the other one you mentioned? Oh, Queen. Another
Queen.
One Bites the Dust.
Yep. And I think that was kind of a big breakout year for Michael Jackson, too,
Oh,
if I
yeah.
remember. So,
Rock With You.
Yep.
I want to
Yep,
rock
exactly.
with you.
Exactly. Anyway, I know we're way off topic here. Today on the Tech Ranch.
I think he still had his original nose back then.
He did, yes. Yeah. We're talking about PAVs today, personal air vehicles. And I'm not going to read all of my startup stuff here, but NASA predicts that in the near future, 45% of all travel will be conducted with personal air vehicles. These are vehicles that you'll be able to park in your garage, drive a short distance, take off from a runway, and fly up to 800 miles.
So like George Jetson.
Yes, just like George Jetson. And these vehicles are actually coming to light right now. I mean, there are actually vehicles out there that you can purchase, some of them under $100,000. So, I mean, I know it's expensive, but it's not the millions of dollars you'd spend on an aircraft. So,
well, I have fantasized about that all my life. You're stuck in a traffic jam. You think, wouldn't it be great if you could just push a button, the propeller comes up out of the car and just lift off and take off?
We're actually getting to that. So, I mean, you think about this. We're going to have personal air vehicles to fly in, and we're going to have autonomous vehicles to drive us around.
Right.
Are we even going to need a driver's license in the future? Will it be illegal for us to actually drive a vehicle in the future? These are the questions we're going to kind of get into today. Yeah. So second part of the show with Miss Metaverse, we'll be talking about that. On the phone, we have Mr. Dave from Infusionsoft, and I think we're going to be talking a little bit about CRM. So how you doing, Dave?
Good. How are you doing?
We're doing great here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Infusionsoft?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to clarify, I'm actually not with Infusionsoft, but we focus on building out applications within Infusionsoft and working with advisors on implementing it.
Oh, I got you. Okay. I apologize for that. I thought you were actually with the company, but so why don't you tell us about what Infusionsoft does, and then we'll get into what you do with Infusionsoft.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that kind of it segues me in nicely because about a year and a half ago or so, we work with financial planners all around the United States, and we started to really identify and look for a good technology system out there that would help us stay connected with our clients. And, what we looked about was the traditional world of the CRMs, or the mainstream ones, specifically in the financial services industry. And within these CRM systems, what we really found was that, especially from the financial side of things, there was a lot of really great systems that could help you organize all of your client information, capture, their name, their address, their contact info, basically using it as almost like an online Rolodex. And even some of these were able to integrate in some of the investment accounts that the clients might have had with us. But what it really lacked was the ability to proactively automate systems and processes to create a unique experience for the client. So as we started to do due diligence on all these different CRM systems out there, we really identified that there's two forms of systems or applications out there. There's back office ones, which are what I mentioned earlier, more that online Rolodex to store client information, accounts, things like that. And then there's front office CRM systems, which can really be more focused around sales and marketing and automating your marketing efforts to your clients and prospects. So when I circle around to Infusionsoft, what Infusionsoft basically allows us to do is store all of the client information, name, phone number, email address, and all of the necessary data points that we need, and then proactively automate different marketing and communication methods to communicate with those clients via email, via landing pages, via drip marketing. So ultimately, that's what the system enables us to do. They are a CRM system, but there's so much more to it. It's an entire email platform that you could essentially build campaigns that automate the technology, almost so you have an employee on staff without actually having to pay for one.
Okay, and CRM, for those of you who may not be familiar with that, is customer relations management, and that enables you to kind of keep track of sales calls, email campaigns, all kinds of things that CRMs do. Infusionsoft, I'm very impressed with them, by the way. I think they have a great platform. So you integrate your financial planning services into Infusionsoft. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so what we really do is, one of the big struggles that we had as advisors is, we meet a lot of people out there, a lot of potential clients, prospects, people that might be interested in services that we offer, but for whatever reason, maybe it's not the right time for them to move forward and become a client of the firm. So a couple of the things that we use Infusionsoft to do is automate different marketing campaigns to those people and deliver valuable content to them. So obviously there's a lot of changes in the financial services industry, whether it's tax changes, regulatory changes, market updates, just things that these prospects and clients should know. Well, within Infusionsoft, what I like about it, and where I feel it really differs than a lot of the other CRM systems out there, is we could build automated campaigns. So essentially I can say, hey, on the second Thursday of every single month, I want these different, campaigns to go out to all of our prospects and centers of influence. And it could deliver, white papers, newsletters, different things like that that's more interactive and engages the end user or the client or prospect. So, for instance, I'll send out a white paper on, some kind of IRA change that's out there. And if the client ends up clicking and downloading that white paper, Infusionsoft on the back-end side tracks that. Now I can really start to monitor the click-throughs, who's downloading my material, what content those people are actually engaging with. And I think from a marketing standpoint for any business, that's incredibly valuable data that then you're collecting behind the scenes within your CRM system.
All right, Dave, we're running up against the clock here. Go ahead and shout out where we can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me at 888-240-1923, or email address is dallison@c2padvisory.com.
All right, Dave, thanks a lot. Up next, everybody, Mobilegeddon, so come on back.
Right now, 52.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
Follow the Guru of Geek at facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or thetechranch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank all of our listeners across the country and around the world who join in to us on the Blueberry Network. Of course, we're on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's Tech, it's here. We're on iTunes, the Roku, and, of course, our own app, Radio Pup. And joining us on the phone to talk about Mobilegeddon, going to love this conversation, Robert Bowick. Robert, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine as well. The Mobilegeddon really caught my eye, so I figured I'd better invite you on the show so we could have a conversation about this. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what Mobilegeddon is?
Okay, Mobilegeddon is the name that has been given to April the 21st, 2015. That's the date that Google have announced that they're going to be switching their algorithms to give preference to mobile-friendly websites. which means that if you have a business and your website is not mobile friendly, then your Google search rankings are going to be dramatically impacted. So where you may have been on page 1 or 2 of Google in the past, now you're going to find yourself on page 200, 300 of Google because your site is not mobile friendly, and they're going to be giving preference to mobile friendly sites.
So how much of, preference are they giving to the mobile friendly? I mean, is this something where it's, 10%? I mean, do you know the number as to, is it a huge number so that if you're not actually mobile ready that you really are going to lose ranking here?
Yes, it's a huge number, and if you're not mobile ready, you are going to lose ranking. And in fact, they're actually going to be, as of April 21st, they're going to be inserting a little label for every search that will tell you whether each website that you're looking at is mobile friendly. Because remember that over 60% of people, of internet users, are now browsing the internet on some sort of mobile device, whether it be a tablet or a smartphone. So Google wants to give everybody their optimum experience. So if you're on your cell phone and you're searching Google, you want to know before you click on a site whether it's mobile friendly or not. So there'll be a little sign on each Google search result that says mobile friendly. And if it doesn't say that, it means your site is not mobile friendly, and the chances are people are not going to click on you because when they click on that site, it's not going to look good on their mobile device.
So
it's going to have a huge impact.
What day is this coming about, Robert?
Say that again?
What day is this coming about on?
This is coming out on April 21st. And in fact, Google only announced this in mid-February, so that they've given a very short period of time for businesses to make the switch to get themselves mobile friendly. And again, the reason they've done that is because there's been this huge swing in the past 12 months from people using desktop to people using mobile devices. The days of people sitting at their desktop looking at the internet are very quickly dwindling away, and people are using cell phones and tablets. So Google have realized they better get themselves together and get everyone mobile friendly as soon as possible. So they're actually flicking the switch on April 21st. And that's it. That's the deadline, and that's why they've called it Mobilegeddon, because there's this big, huge rush for everybody to get their site mobile friendly.
Okay, so Jim, cue your mic up there for a second.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm just great.
So, now I know you're a newer smartphone user, Jim.
Yeah.
Do you browse the web a lot on your device?
A lot. Yes.
Really? Do you actually use it more than you would your desktop now? Do you think?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. How about you, Robert? Are you more of a mobile person or a desktop person?
Absolutely. I'm a mobile person. I have a tablet and a cell phone, and I'm always on my phone looking at the internet. And in fact, from the data that I get from my own website, I'm over 70% of users that come to my website are coming from a mobile device.
Wow.
I surf in bed.
My data matches with Google's data that the absolute majority of people are using a mobile device, and that's why it's so important that everyone, especially business, their sites are mobile friendly by April 21st.
Yeah. So Jim, again, I'm going to pick on you a little bit because you're a little newer to the foray here, so to speak.
I'm a Johnny-come-lately.
That's right. So are you frustrated when you come to a website that's not mobile ready? I mean, do you run across this a lot where you go to a website and you're like, you can't read it, or it just seems weird that it's
Once in a while, I get a website that the way it's set up, for some reason, it just crashes. And, of course, when you crash on a mobile, basically it just goes black and then it goes back to the original your original wallpaper there.
Okay. So are there sites that you go to that are different, on the desktop when you're on a desktop as opposed to mobile, and because you go there frequently, you notice the difference?
Oh yeah, certain newspaper websites like the New York Times, you go there, they have a whole different setup for the mobile.
Okay, very good. So Robert, what does a company have to do to get themselves ready if they're not mobile ready now?
Okay, so there's really two options. The first option is they can create a separate site, a mobile site. That's what we call mobile friendly, where you have your main site and it stays how it is, but you create a separate mobile site that is designed specifically for mobile devices.
So that would be...
The problem with those sites is that they tend to be stripped down, bare bones versions of the original site. They're mainly text-based, so they don't look as good. And the other problem with those is that when Google looks at your main site, it's going to think, hey, this is not mobile friendly, and you're going to have a problem. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put in some quite complex code into your main site to tell Google that, hang on a second, I have a mobile site, so please mark me as mobile friendly. The better option is to create a mobile responsive website, and that's what my company specializes in for small business. We create websites where you have just one website, and using JavaScript and CSS, the website will automatically adjust itself based on the size of the screen that you are looking at. So if you're looking at it on a big desktop screen, or you're looking on a tablet or a small mobile phone, or now you've even got these smartwatches where you can look at the internet, it will automatically adjust itself without you having to do anything, so it looks optimum on that screen. And because it's changing, you're getting the same looks. It's not going to look different or worse. It's just going to look exactly the same, but it's going to be optimized for the size of the screen that you're looking at. That's the best way to go about it.
Okay. Jim, you had a question?
Who's doing it right? What are some examples of websites, companies that actually have their act together on this?
That's a great question. You'll find that the big companies, the corporate giants, they're well ahead of the game. They have the resources, they have the money, they probably have their own internal web development teams, and they've been ready for this for quite a long time.
McDonald's, Coca-Cola.
McDonald's, absolutely.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, absolutely. The people who this is going to impact the most is small businesses. Small businesses who maybe designed their websites 4 or 5 years ago and have just let it sit. And they can't really afford to have their site redesigned on a regular basis. So these small businesses, their sites are not going to be mobile friendly. And so especially if these companies have paid for some sort of social engine optimization to get their rankings up, they're now going to find their rankings are going to get shot right back down because they're not mobile friendly.
So do you have an idea about what the cost would be to and I know it's all over the place, but, maybe a typical small business who, uses their website basically as a brochure about their business to tell people about it. It's not an e-commerce type of thing or whatever. I mean, is there a number that you have in mind that you think this would run?
Okay, so my company, iHenix, we're currently offering a $200 discount on all custom mobile responsive websites. We offer a number of packages starting at $599. So with that $200 discount, you can get a custom mobile responsive website starting at $399.
So are you guys able to, Robert, are you able to actually integrate that into pretty much any website?
Yes, because all our websites are custom. We do not use templates. With complete custom design. So whatever the client wants, whatever they want it to look like, however they want it to be, we can incorporate that and create a custom mobile responsive website that will work on all mobile devices. It is a redesign, so it's not that we're going into their website and making a few changes. It's a complete redesign to make it mobile responsive. We're putting in that JavaScript code, we're putting in that CSS code so that the website becomes mobile responsive.
So you're able to actually grab the information that's on a current website, bring it over to your platform, make it mobile responsive, and bang, you got yourself a new website that's mobile ready.
Absolutely. We can grab the content, we can grab any images that you have, we can move it over into a mobile responsive platform, and as soon as you hit the switch, you're mobile friendly and ready to go. And actually on our website, mobilegeddon.net, we actually have a link to Google's own mobile-friendly test where you can click on that link and put in your website address, and Google will analyze your site and tell you if it is mobile-friendly or not, because some people may think their site is mobile-friendly, but the question is, does Google think your site is mobile-friendly? That's the key question. So our website, mobilegeddon.net, you can go on there and see if your site is truly mobile-friendly. We also have the $200 off coupon on there, and we also have some videos that you can watch about what's the importance of Mobilegeddon and why you should have a mobile responsive website and how you can tell if your site is mobile responsive. And then again, you can hit the button, get a free quote from us to tell you exactly what we can do to help you to get your site mobile responsive before April 21st.
It's good that you're on the show today. I really appreciate you took the time out to kind of inform us. I wasn't even aware of this, and I think I keep up with all kinds of stuff all the time, especially when it comes to website development, Jim. I just had no clue this was even going on.
I had no idea.
So unbelievable. So, Robert,
I think it's a sign of the moving of the times, because Google only made this announcement in February, and they've only given people till April 21st. Usually, when Google makes an announcement like this, they give you a couple of years. They roll it out in stages. But because of the importance of mobile-friendly websites, they announced in February. That's it. April 21st, we're flicking the switch. And if your site isn't mobile responsive, tough luck. Get it mobile responsive.
All right, Robert. Really appreciate you being on the show. Everybody, again, go to mobilegeddon.net, just like it sounds, mobilegeddon.net. I'll have that on the techranch.com as well. We'll have a link over to it. And you can go get your website tested to see if it's ready for Google's, or whatever you want to call it, I guess the mobile-friendly version that Google thinks it is. So, Robert, again, thanks a lot. After the break, everybody, Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino, will be joining us to talk about personal air vehicles. You won't want to miss this, so come on back.
Right now, 52.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome back, everybody. On the phone, of course, Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino. How you doing, Katie?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Marlo?
Doing fine. I hear you haven't had much rest this weekend, though.
What? I'll sleep when I finish all the stuff I'm getting done.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So I promised her, though, Katie, that Jim and you and I will not give her a bad time today, because I know she's functioning on very little sleep.
I know how that can be.
So we'll have to, not kid around, be serious. That's almost going to be impossible, I know. So
yeah, if I don't get my 18 hours a day of sleep, I'm a basket case.
Well,
me too.
I am very excited to be talking about this topic. We've been trying to get to this for the last couple of weeks, because this is now part 3 of a 4-part series on the future of transportation, and we're getting into personal air vehicles. And I have a little description here I'm going to read to everybody, and then Katie and I will get into a little bit of a discussion. We'll probably throw Jim in there too occasionally. But this is how it goes, and this is kind of direct from NASA. Personal air vehicles, PAVs, are a new generation of small aircraft that can extend personal air travel to a much larger segment of the American population. As a solution to America's future mobility needs, NASA Aeronautics developed the PAV concept to provide a more distributed and less centralized system of air travel. Near all-weather PAVs will be able to transport people to within just a few miles of their doorstep destination at trip speeds 3 to 4 times faster than airlines or cars. NASA predicts that up to 45% of all miles traveled in the future may be in PAVs. This will relieve congestion at metropolitan hub airports and the freeways that surround them, reduce the need to build new highways, and save up to, I should say, 6.8 billion, and that's with a B, gallons of fuel wasted in surface gridlock each year. Amazing statistics. And then we get into what PAVs will do. They will travel at speeds of 150 to 200 miles per hour. So above gridlock, without traffic delays. So Jim and Katie, that means, I was looking at their scenario of getting there 3 to 4 times faster than airlines. Well, they're taking into consideration the time that we spend at airports.
No.
Right.
And of course, when we're flying, we might be flying at 500 or 600 miles an hour. These will travel 150, 200. But we got to get to the airport 2 or 3 hours early. You got another hour to get out of the place. I mean, if you're traveling 150 miles an hour, you've got 600 miles behind you before you are even out of the airport, basically.
Well, it's like years ago when I lived in the part of the country where Amtrak is still viable.
Right.
And I used to love to take Amtrak on business trips. As I told people, if you're flying, by the time you get to the airport and you check in and you wait to get on the flight and you get off the flight at the connection and you get back on the flight and you get off, your whole day is shot to hell anyway.
Right, exactly. It's exactly right. So it'll be quiet, safe, comfortable, reliable, simplified operation, akin to driving a car, as affordable as travel by car or airliner, near all-weather on-demand travel enabled by synthetic vision. One of the challenges that they talk about is the ability to see through clouds and in rainy situations, your PAV will be able to do that.
Meet George Jetson.
That's right. High energy efficiency, non-polluting, up to 800-mile range, and a short runway use. So a lot of these little airports and maybe even other, maybe even towns will put little strips in so PAVs can land and take off there. So absolutely amazing. And if you think this is in the future, think again, because there are PAVs now. You can actually go buy one now. So anyway, all right, Katie, your turn to chime in.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when we talk about these PAVs, I start thinking about Back to the Future Part 2, right? Because that's when Doc goes back, he goes into the future, right, to 2015.
Right.
And here we are in 2015, and we still don't have, flying cars and highways in the sky like was what was shown in the movie.
And the skateboard things.
It's definitely different, right? And it's funny because when we talk about these PAVs and how they'll function in the future, it seems like these different companies out there have different takes on which way it'll work, whether we'll have small airports in our towns or whether we'll have to drive to our own local larger airports. Or there's also companies like Moeller that have been working on the vertical takeoff and landing methods where you could actually have your own personal air vehicle in your own driveway and be able to actually just take off vertically directly up without having to take any more space up more than your driveway.
Yeah, I'm looking at a product called the PAL-V. Have you seen this?
No.
It is, if you go to PAL-V.com, it looks like a small helicopter, basically, but it's got 3 wheels on it. It's got like a little jet on the back end of it, so I suppose it allows you to kind of maneuver around on the ground a little bit, but it's got a gyro on it. So, one of the big things about this is that the ability to, if something goes wrong in the air, to land safely. And, of course, if you have like a helicopter type of scenario, yes, people do die in helicopter crashes, but generally speaking, if a helicopter loses power, it'll just kind of flutter down to the ground. I mean, the props continue to rotate, and it kind of the vehicle spins as it comes down, and it might land a little hard. But the whole point of having a helicopter is that it's dramatically more safer than a conventional aircraft. So, but yeah, you can actually buy one of these now. To drive one requires a private driver's license. You heard me right.
A what?
You need a driver's license.
Oh.
So, Jim,
just a regular driver's license.
You and I can both go get one of these right now. Usually takes about 30 minutes to get used to driving the vehicle. You'll drive it. I'm just reading through their thing here. With great pleasure. Of course, I'll drive it with great pleasure.
Yeah.
And they actually have a school, too, that you can go to and actually get certified as a sports pilot license. In Europe, you need a recreational pilot license or a private pilot license, depending on where you get these in the world. And those take 20 to 40 hours of lessons to learn how to fly.
Which is very reasonable.
Actually, not
you
bad
did
at
that
all.
in a couple of weekends if you applied yourself.
That's exactly right. And that'll probably change as we move forward. But, when you learn how to drive, how long did it take you to learn?
Well, I mean, I took driver's ed. I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
But the actual driving part didn't take me that long at all.
But I don't think 20 to 40 hours is unreasonable.
No.
So how about you, Katie?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, I think that we're going to have a lot of different training already. It's already out there. So, I think it's definitely reasonable.
So where do you see PAVs going? I mean, I gave you NASA's take on this, but do you see this actually becoming mainstream in our country?
Well, I kind of have to side with Elon Musk, I have to say, on this one, because I just feel, although I love the idea of flying cars, don't get me wrong, and I know it's one of the biggest sci-fi fantasies that we all have, right? It's like living in the future. I just see that there's definitely still problems with it. I think it's going to take a while still, even with the legislation and the but it will be converging, I think, with the autonomous vehicle technology, also with figuring out how to get these kind of cars/drones together so they'll become available to all of us, and also figuring out exactly what we were talking about before, whether we'll have our own kind of personal airports we'll have to go to, or if we'll have cars we could just take off and go right from our own driveway. And I think that's going to really be a huge factor in how quickly this could actually take on. But Elon Musk actually said recently on Neil Tyson's Star Talk radio show, and he said that he doesn't think that that these flying cars are actually going to ever be a big thing. He thinks that it's not the answer. He thinks that the answer for especially congestion in larger cities would be maybe building more tunnels for cars instead in big cities like New York City, because with these flying cars, you're still going to have to deal with the bad weather. You're still going to have to work on the autonomous technology, and you're also going to have to worry about them being loud. That's what he said. So I agree with that. That definitely gave me a different perspective on it. But, of course, I'm definitely looking forward to being able to buy my own flying car. Why not?
And I know that, a lot of airports across the country are already PAV approved, including our own in the town of Mandan, North Dakota. We have a smaller airport here, and they're already PAV approved. Now, the larger one across the river from us is not, because it's a commercial. So a lot of these smaller strips already have that designation that if you have one of these crafts that you can actually take out and fly. And I would imagine that if you have one that takes off from your driveway, probably won't go as fast as one that would be more like an airplane. I'm just
be a little scary.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm taking from this.
Coming out of your house in the morning, and your neighbor's coming out.
Yeah, taking off right away. Yeah.
Sonic boom.
Well, I don't think they'll go quite that fast, Jim. Yeah. But, yeah, it is interesting, and I kind of agree with you, Katie. I don't know if this will ever be mainstream. I think it kind of depends on how, if they actually get to the point where they're as easy to drive as a car, or if they're autonomous, and they'll come and they'll drive you. So, anyway, after the break, everybody, we will continue our discussion on PAVs, and I have a feeling we're going to autonomous vehicles, so come on back.
Right now, 57.
Your news leader, weeknights at 6 and 10. Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And in studio, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh. On the phone, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino. And we're all talking about personal air vehicles. Now, I'm going to get a little serious here for a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the Germanwings crash last week. And have you been following this, Jim?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. How about you, Katie?
No, I saw some tweets about it, but what happened?
Well, the air crashed into the side of a mountain, and 10 minutes out, the plane started to descend quickly and basically flew into a mountainside, and nobody really knew what was going on. Now they've determined that through the flight recorder that the pilot was pounding on the door. The co-pilot was inside and wasn't saying anything. They could just hear him breathing as he flew the plane into the mountain.
Apparently he did it deliberately.
Yeah.
And you hear the pilot pounding on the door, let me in, while this guy's flying into a mountain. Weird.
Yeah. So my question is, in light of this tragedy and others like it in the last couple of years, and I'm going to go all the way back to 9/11 here. If there was a way that somebody from the ground could take over that flight when they knew it was, maybe off course, nobody's responding, as in this situation, that somebody could actually take over that plane and put it back on course, would this be something that the public would be in favor of?
I think so. I think it's definitely... It has to be figured out, because there's been so many crazy news stories in the last year with all the planes going missing and crashes. Oh my goodness, it's starting to get a little scary, honestly.
Yep. And it's interesting that they make the door so terrorists can't get in.
Right.
And I suppose the pilot had to excuse himself to go to the restroom or whatever for a second.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. He went
and
to the bathroom.
Then he comes back, and he can't get into his own cockpit. That's what's crazy about this whole scenario, because now they have, secured those doors so nobody can get in them. I had this conversation with somebody who's very involved in the drone industry 2 years ago. And it's interesting that this conversation has been brought up in media, and now there's actually a company that's come forth and stated that they're actually working on a scenario where if something goes wrong with that plane, that, usually with the pilot, and whatever, if it's been kidnapped or whatever, that somebody on the ground, just like flying a drone, can take over that aircraft and land it. And but I think for some people, you get the other side of that. Well, if terrorists are going to kidnap us in the skies or do whatever, now they have another opportunity to do it in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, what's to stop the bad guys from, hacking into it from the ground?
Right. So you kind of have that scenario too. But, if it's, to me, it's like another layer of protection. If you have a pilot or two in the sky, and you have somebody on the ground watching that too, and if it goes off course and starts deviating, heading towards a building or something, that they can correct it. So, your thoughts, Kate?
I think that we shouldn't look at the doom and gloom side of that technology. I think that's actually a good thing. I really do, because there's just way too much weird things happening with people, and I don't know. Honestly, humans aren't perfect. We see where there's a lot of automated technology and autonomous cars that are just having no problems and accidents, and I'm in favor of it. Honestly, I think that we definitely will need drivers, and we'll definitely need flight crew and everything like that in the future still. But I really think that the control should be more of the technology, be streamlined and relying more on that and less being controlled by people, especially people who, might have a bad day and fly into a mountain. I mean, geez, what is that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would feel safer in the air if I knew that somebody could take it over from the ground. I just know I would. How about you, Jim?
I don't know. Again, I can't shake the idea that you build the better mousetrap, somebody's going to come up with a bigger mouse.
Okay. And
that the bad guys are always going to find some way of hacking into it and with whatever it is. I know I probably shouldn't think that way, but I can't help it. Well,
and it's okay that you think that way. That's
I mean, technology is great. I'm not a doom and gloomer by nature.
We're having this debate right now simply because I think it is something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And you look at computers, for example. I mean, you look in the heyday of the 80s when the computers were really coming out and we were starting to get used to them and use them, right? Now it's like if you do anything on your computer, you really got to think about it because it's a new way for people to steal stuff from you.
Yeah.
Whether it's your identity or money or whatever. So I get why people think this way because they buy this bright, new, shiny thing, this new computer. You take it home, you're all excited about it. And 2 months later, you have no money left in your bank account because some crook came in through your computer and stole it.
There's always a risk. I mean, there's always that price to pay, any kind of new technology, any kind of benefit.
Yeah.
But even look at...
Go ahead, Kate.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, when we think about this, I think about the stock market, right? Because look at the whole stock market. Our whole economy is almost based on just computers and these automated systems now.
Right.
And, who's to say that, something can happen there as well? It's just another way of looking at it,
Yeah, there's some give and take on it, but I think, overall, I'm just weighing in myself. I think I would feel safer having that other layer of security, meaning somebody on the ground.
Yeah.
That and this is the way I look at that scenario. You got 6 or 8 people maybe in a control room that's watching all this traffic across the world, and somebody pipes in and says, "Hey, this plane has gone off course." That this control room then can just take over this plane. And maybe it doesn't fly it to the destination it's supposed to go to. Maybe it flies it to an alternate airport or whatever. But at least there's some control about where to take that aircraft to. So, because, in the last year, I was just looking at the stats. We've lost 1,200 lives in the last year. And not that, that's a lot. Not in the grand scope of things. It's not a lot. I think we'd all be I'd like to know the actual statistics to the number of deaths we have on our highways every year in this country. But it's interesting way to, hop on an airplane and you never hear from your relatives again because somebody's flown it into an ocean someplace.
Well, yeah, they always say, well, it's only 1 in a million. Well, yeah, if it's your family,
right,
though, then
exactly.
It's a big deal.
And it just seems like it just seems to be escalating lately. These scenarios, ever since 9/11, we just seem to be having to deal with this situation over and over and over again. So something has to give here. So
definitely.
Yeah.
So anyway, not to get to the doom and gloom stuff there a little bit, but yeah, we'll talk. I'm going to follow this a little bit more. And Kate, if you see anything about the development of, some company or whatever that's coming out with a way to control our commercial aircraft from the ground to some type of base, I'd like to hear about that too. So keep your eyes open for that, okay?
I definitely will.
All right. So moving on, I know we wanted to get to autonomous cars real quick since we were moving in that direction. But, since we only have 3 minutes left, maybe we'll save that to the next show. Let's talk a little bit about your trip to North Dakota.
All right.
Because Jim's excited.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Well, good.
It's gonna be great.
Good. Yeah, we have a great conference that's coming up, and it's the Trade and Transportation Summit, May 18th through the 20th in Bismarck, North Dakota. And Kate is actually going to be our keynote speaker on the evening of May 18th, right after the AUVSI Roadshow, which also will be in the Bismarck-Mandan area, where we will be highlighting these technologies, drones, autonomous cars, all kinds of cool stuff that you'll see during the day right here in Bismarck-Mandan. And, of course, Kate will be probably out. Well, in fact, she'll be on the show. You'll be on the show live with us.
Yay, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
I hear we have a 2-hour spot now that day as well.
Yeah, we're working on that.
So that'll be fun as well. So we'll be broadcasting from the road show.
is what we're looking at
okay.
that day. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be broadcasting live from the road show itself, bringing in some of the people that will be there. And Kate, I'm sure you have a dynamic speech for us that evening.
Absolutely. I've been really pulling out all the stops on this one, so I hope you guys get excited, and I can't wait to speak for you.
Yeah, it should be great. So, anybody who's you can go to Cnatca.com, CNATCA.com, register for the event if you are interested in attending. We have all kinds of speakers coming in too. Orion Samuelson will be here as well. Are you familiar with him, Jim?
Boy, that name rings a bell.
U.S. Farm Report. Been with that. I think he's been doing that for 35, 40 years. I mean, he's the voice of the U.S. Farm Report. So that should be a lot of fun to hear what he has to say, too. And I'm sure...
Well, farming has become very high-tech in the last 20 years.
It has, and that's why we're actually bringing him in, because the convergence of unmanned vehicles, drones, whatever you want to call them, and agriculture is becoming a very, very big deal. So do you see any use of drones in the ag world around New York, Kate?
I'm not so sure. Well, sure. I mean, New York is pretty big. I mean, we have upstate New York. We have here on Long Island. We have all the vineyards. We have some farm areas out east. And but in New York City, no, I do not.
Okay.
New York City is definitely not that type of place.
Well, of course. But I just thought maybe if you got up to upstate or not. But anyway, of course, we're up against the clock here. So, Kate, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And Jim, as always, a pleasure.
Here, here.
And everybody, we will talk to you again same time next week. So come on back.